Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're really going to look inside. We're exploring something I think, well, pretty much everyone experiences at some point. That really profound internal friction, you know. When you know something vital deep down, like a decision you have to make, maybe a boundary you desperately need to set, or just a feeling you absolutely know you need to face.
But you don't.
Exactly. You actively, sometimes almost like violently choose to ignore it.
Yeah. It's that
Yeah.
silence. It isn't really silence, is it? It's more like a low hum or a weight.
Definitely a weight.
And what's really striking is just how universal that is. We could start with that image, and maybe, for you listening, this really hits home.
Yeah.
It's that picture of sitting in your car after work. Engine's off.
Keys still in the ignition.
Right. And you haven't moved.
Haven't gone inside yet. You're just sitting there, maybe scrolling on your phone, maybe just kind of staring out the windshield. And that silence, like you said, it's not empty. It feels thick. It almost presses on you because you know exactly what's waiting.
You know what's behind the front door of your awareness, let's say.
Right.
The thing you've managed to sidestep all day. And now it's right there, demanding your attention.
So we fill that space, right, with these little avoidance rituals.
Oh, absolutely. Scrolling through the news feed you already saw, mentally making a grocery list.
Replaying some conversation from earlier, judging yourself.
Or judging them. Anything. Literally anything to distract from that. That quiet pull in your chest, maybe. Or that knot of tension behind your eyes.
Yeah, that physical feeling.
Because that knot, that tension, that is the unfinished truth. Embodied.
So what are these truths we're running from? They're usually not small things, are they?
Rarely. They tend to be pretty fundamental, killers of our actual aliveness.
We're talking about things like the big decision you haven't made, the one that could change your path,
Or the conversation you keep putting off, the one that keeps the peace but feels false.
the boundary you haven't drawn that just leaves you feeling completely drained.
Yeah. Or the dream you haven't let yourself pursue,
Yeah.
leaving that sort of hollow feeling.
Or maybe it's simpler. Grief. Grief you haven't let yourself actually feel because it just seems too overwhelming, too huge.
Exactly. So our mission today really is to unpack the mechanics of this resistance. Why does knowing the truth feel so dangerous?
Yeah. We're going to explore a framework, one that's really centered on the here and now experience. And it suggests that this avoidance, it isn't some character flaw. It's not weakness. It's actually a highly sophisticated, protective strategy. Maybe ultimately suffocating, sure, but protective nonetheless.
Protective.
And the journey towards being fully, alive, it really starts when we learn to trust the raw data, the information our body is constantly giving us.
Okay, let's unpack that deeply then.
Right.
Why is it so hard? Why is moving from that car seat, that frozen moment?
Yeah.
Why is facing the truth so incredibly difficult? If the answer's inside us, why do we keep turning away? I mean, the easy answer is always, oh, I'm just lazy, or I'm failing somehow.
Right. That's the common self-criticism. But this perspective you're mentioning sounds like something else is going on. It's not failing, it's surviving.
That's the core idea, the essential reframing we need. We have to stop seeing avoidance as like a moral failing.
Right.
And instead, really acknowledge it for what it is.
Yeah.
Brilliant, ancient, survival-shaped protection. That's a powerful way to put it.
Brilliant, ancient.
Think about your basic operating system, right? It was designed, fundamentally, to keep you safe from existential threats, a real physical threat, like a predator. It triggers this massive physiological response, fight, flight, freeze.
Okay, yeah, makes sense.
But in our modern world, the predator isn't usually a tiger.
No, it's often making a difficult phone call.
Exactly. Or facing the fact that a major life choice maybe wasn't the right one.
Oof. Yeah.
But the internal system, it can register the emotional pain of, say, confrontation or the sheer panic of uncertainty with almost the same level of alarm as the tiger.
So the threat level feels just as high internally.
Precisely. Your system is designed to shield you from what it genuinely believes will shatter you. That could be the crushing weight of grief, the terror of standing alone if you speak up, or just the paralyzing void of uncertainty, not knowing what comes next.
So if speaking your truth maybe years ago led to someone withdrawing love or acceptance, your nervous system basically logged that experience. Truth-telling equals danger.
Exactly. Created a rule, a survival rule. So In a way, the system is working perfectly. It's doing its job.
But it's running on old software.
That's a great way to put it. Outdated programming based on past experiences.
Wow, that changes things. We're not ignoring the answer because we're incapable. We're ignoring it because we're running this, like you said, brilliant but old survival program.
And this leads to the deeper issue.
Yeah.
We've often been taught, conditioned even, to mistrust the very place the answers actually live inside ourselves.
Oh.
Well, think about it. Maybe early on, we learned that being authentic, being really needy, or really angry, or even just really joyful, sometimes made us too much or difficult.
Yeah. Socially inconvenient.
Right. We learned that our internal compass, our gut feeling,
Yeah.
could be socially expensive. It cost us something. Approval, belonging maybe.
So we muted it?
We muted the internal voice and we started looking outside for direction, for validation. We externalized our locus of control.
And now that survival strategy, that muting, it's become like a habit or more.
It can calcify, become rigid, almost like a prison.
Yeah.
And the cost is enormous. It costs us our spontaneity, our connection to our real desires, and ultimately our feeling of being truly alive.
Okay, let's talk about those specific moments when the truth tries to surface. Because it doesn't just stay buried quietly, does it? It bubbles up.
No, it definitely pushes. Maybe it's that 3 a.m. wake-up call, heart racing, mind spinning.
Oh yeah, know that one.
Or you're sitting across from someone you love, and suddenly the words you need to say are right there. You can almost feel them, trembling on your tongue.
But then, what do we do? How do we actively push it back down in that moment?
It's often an immediate, almost unconscious performance of okayness that kicks in. The second that feeling rises, that surge of energy or anxiety or even the clarity, the interruption mechanism activates.
Like an internal reflex.
Exactly.
Huh.
We use our thinking brain, the frontal cortex, to basically override the body's wisdom, the feeling that's emerging.
And the ways we do that, they can sound so reasonable, right? That's what's tricky.
Totally. Rationalization is huge.
Yeah.
I just can't deal with this right now. I've got too much on my plate, or I need to gather more information before I can possibly decide. Using logic as a shield against the emotional reality.
Or we minimize it. That one feels particularly insidious.
It really is, because minimization often uses a kind of warped compassion against yourself.
Yeah.
Oh, it's not that big of a deal, really. Look at what other people are going through. Or I should just be grateful for what I have.
Yeah. It completely bypasses the actual feeling, the present suffering.
And then there's the big one, social fear. Just that massive wall of what will people think? What will my family say if I quit this good job? What if I speak up and nobody believes me? Or worse, they reject me? What if I'm wrong?
That fear of alienation.
It's huge. And all of these rationalizing, minimizing, fearing judgment, they are active ways we turn back to the surface.
Right. It's not passive forgetting. It's an active turning away, like slamming a door shut.
And then piling furniture against it. We bury it under to-do lists, obligations, busy work.
We go back to performing I'm fine, focusing on scrolling the phone, making small talk, dealing with trivial tasks. Anything but the real thing.
Exactly. We exhaust ourselves maintaining this performance, making sure that rising feeling, that truth, sinks back down into the shadows.
But the energy doesn't just vanish, does it?
No, that's the crucial point. It doesn't go away. It just stagnates. It becomes this heavy emotional inventory we have to carry around every single day. It's still there, waiting, pulsing, unfinished.
Okay, so this is where we pivot, right? Away from the sort of mental gymnastics of avoidance.
Mm-hmm.
And into what you call the raw data, the body, the most honest source of information we have.
Yes, because we're so trained to treat those internal sensations, the tight throat, the clenched jaw, the sinking stomach, as just noise.
Yeah.
Or symptoms of stress that need to be, managed or medicated or ignored.
Right, just anxiety.
But this framework insists, no, that's not noise. That is the primary data source. Your body is speaking.
It's interesting because we usually look elsewhere for answers, don't we? We look to experts, to books, social media, friends.
Yeah.
We debate pros and cons endlessly in our heads.
We seek external validation, absolutely, but the really deep truths, the ones that often require pretty radical life shifts, they don't usually arrive neatly packaged from a Google search or a self-help book.
No.
They tend to rise up from that raw, sometimes messy, trembling center of your own immediate lived experience, from inside you.
So we need to stop dismissing those feelings. That tightness isn't just stress, it's data. Pure, untainted information about how we're reacting to our environment, what we need. Exactly. We need to start reflecting on them, not trying to get rid of them. So if you think about that difficult conversation you need to have, what's the actual data your body is providing?
Is it that knot right under the breastbone?
Yeah. Or maybe a tightness in your throat that makes it hard to swallow. A certain wave of fatigue. Or maybe a weird numbness spreading through your arms or legs like you're disconnecting.
That restless urge to just close the laptop, check your phone again, stand up and pace.
That is data. Pure gold. It's your organism, your whole being, trying to protect you from touching what it perceives as the live wire of your own truth.
Okay.
And if we want to move towards that truth instead of away from it, we really need to understand this idea of figure and ground.
Okay, yeah, let's spend some time on figure and ground. That sounds key to understanding how we get stuck.
It really is. Think of it visually. The ground is everything in the background. It's where our awareness usually gets caught up.
Like the wallpaper.
Exactly like the wallpaper. It's the constant noise, the endless emails, the roles we play, parent, employee, friend, the social media feed, and especially that pervasive chorus of shoulds and oughts that dictates so much of our lives.
And the ground feels comfortable, or at least familiar.
Familiar, predictable, often socially acceptable. We actually get rewarded in many ways for staying focused on the ground, for being busy, productive, keeping things running smoothly on the surface.
Okay, so if the ground is the wallpaper, the figure is.
The figure is the specific shape, the specific thing that starts to emerge from the ground, demanding to be seen. It rises up.
It's the thing that wants your attention.
Precisely. It's the truth that really matters in that moment. The specific longing, the particular ache in your heart, the sudden, sharp realization that you're deeply unhappy in a relationship, or the clear, undeniable decision that you have to leave a certain situation.
And when we avoid, we're basically just trying really hard to focus only on the wallpaper.
Yes. We deliberately keep ourselves busy with the ground of the ground. We organize the closet, answer every single email immediately, volunteer for another committee, hoping that the figure, that uncomfortable truth, will just fade back into the pattern and disappear.
But it doesn't disappear. You said the energy stagnates, so the figure just changes shape.
It gets rooted physically. It becomes embodied. If I'm avoiding setting a boundary with a demanding colleague, my jaw might physically clench every time I see their name pop up in my inbox.
Ah, okay, so that clenching isn't just random stress.
It's not incidental at all. It is the embodied, physiological answer to the unspoken question. What is your truth about this interaction right now? Or think about that little flutter, maybe in your chest or stomach, when you just imagine saying a clear, firm no to something.
Yeah.
That flutter, that's the energy of mobilization, the energy preparing for action, getting trapped by fear. Wants to move, but it's held back.
Or that heavy feeling in your shoulders when you walk into a room where you feel you have to perform, be someone you're not.
Exactly. That physical weight isn't just a metaphor. It is the truth held in your body. Your body is literally holding the shape of your fear or your unexpressed anger or your unsaid yes or no. Your silence carries weight.
Okay, this feels really intense and personal and honestly a bit terrifying. If the answers are right there so clearly in the tight throat or the clenched jaw, why don't we just listen? It seems like it would be so much more efficient.
Because listening, truly listening, feels like risking everything. Everything we've built, maybe unconsciously, on that foundation of avoidance.
We stay small, quiet, safe.
Because the perceived emotional cost of being real, of feeling that truth fully, seems absolutely insurmountable, like it would destroy us.
So what are the specific risks? Disapproval.
Huge one. The fear of genuinely disappointing someone you love. Or maybe even being cast out of your family, your friend group, your professional circle, the structures you rely on for safety and belonging.
And it also means risking internal chaos, like admitting you were wrong.
Oh, absolutely. Risking self-judgment. Having to admit to yourself, wow, I invested 10 years in this job and it was the wrong path. Or, I fiercely defended this relationship and it's actually hurting me.
That kind of admission feels shattering.
It can. And then there's the raw risk of confrontation, actually speaking your truth out loud, knowing it might blow up the current situation, shatter the known environment.
And maybe the biggest one, the fear of the feelings themselves.
That's often the deepest barrier, and it's entirely visceral. It's the risk of emotional overflow. The profound belief, often unconscious, that if you really let yourself feel the grief or the rage or the deep sadness, it will literally consume you, that it will be a bottomless pit you'll fall into and never get out of.
The feeling feels like a monster.
Exactly. That deep conviction keeps us frozen, stuck, protecting ourselves from the feeling, but trapping ourselves in the process.
So we connect this embodied data, this figure ground idea, to the bigger picture. You're saying the core of this Gestalt approach is understanding how we actively interrupt our own natural life process.
Yes, and that interruption is what creates all this unfinished business that tends to haunt us. The key insight is we aren't fundamentally broken. We are just constantly, often unknowingly, preventing ourselves from completing the natural cycle, from closing the energy loop.
And you mentioned shifting from asking why, like why am I so anxious or why am I stuck, which can lead to endless loops of analysis.
Right, intellectualizing.
And shifting towards asking what, like what am I actually sensing right now? What am I feeling? And critically, what am I doing in this exact moment to avoid feeling it more fully?
Yes, asking what brings it right into the present moment and exposes avoidance not as a state, but as an action, an active performance. We stop seeing these behaviors as just coping mechanisms and start seeing them for what they are: sophisticated, energetic blocks, rituals we use to kill the rising energy of truth before it can lead to action.
Let's detail some of those interruption strategies because, like you said, they often hide in plain sight, sometimes even masquerading as virtues.
Okay, a big one is intellectualizing, using the mind as a shield.
Like seeking more and more research, collecting endless facts before making a move.
Exactly. Or diving into books and podcasts, maybe even this one, ironically, to understand the feeling instead of feeling the feeling, rationalizing constantly and comparing. That's a big one. Well, I shouldn't complain. Look at how much worse others have it.
Right, using comparison to invalidate your own experience.
It's the performance of diligence, of being thoughtful, but its function is often to avoid the uncomfortable feeling itself. You're seeking perfect information to avoid the perfectly imperfect, messy feeling.
Okay, what else?
Spiritualizing. This is using spiritual or philosophical concepts to bypass raw, difficult emotion.
Like saying, oh, everything happens for a reason when something terrible occurs.
Or this is just a test, or it's all part of the plan.
Yeah.
While these might hold truth on some level, used in the moment, they can be a very quick, polite way to shut down the searing anger or the profound grief or the sense of injustice that needs to be felt and acknowledged.
And then the really common ones, distraction and numbing.
The classics. Endless scrolling, compulsive cleaning or organizing, making another cup of coffee, hitting play next episode, anything, really, to fill that tiny gap between awareness rising and the potentially uncomfortable action that might follow.
Busyness is a shield.
Absolutely. And finally, blame and postponement, shifting responsibility outwards or into the future.
I'll deal with that later when things calm down or when I have more money or when the kids are older.
Exactly. Or, if they hadn't done that thing, I wouldn't be feeling this way. Placing the cause entirely outside yourself, all of these are highly polished, often unconscious, rituals of interruption. And their function is to stop the natural biological cycle of experience from completing itself.
Okay, let's detail that cycle. The natural flow of aliveness, as you put it, because seeing the healthy flow helps us see exactly where we're putting up the roadblocks.
Great. So the cycle begins naturally with sensation or the contact boundary. Life touches you, something happens externally or internally.
Like feeling hungry, or hearing criticism, or a memory surfacing.
Yes. An internal feeling stirs could be hunger, grief, longing, irritation, joy. A thought arises related to it. A little pulse of energy begins. This is simply you making contact with reality, with what is.
Okay, step one.
Contact. Step two is awareness. You notice the sensation, you feel it. You might internally name it, oh, I'm feeling anxious, or oh, that comment hurt. You move from just raw sensation to recognizing what it is.
Sensing, then recognizing. Got it.
Then comes the really critical stage, mobilization. Based on that awareness, energy starts to rise in your body. Your whole system prepares for action to address the need or the situation.
What does that feel like?
It varies. Your breath might deepen, muscles might tense, getting ready to move, or maybe they relax if the need is for rest. Blood flow changes. You gather the physiological resources needed to do something in response to the awareness. Your body is literally preparing to respond.
Okay, this feels like the key point.
It is the most critical juncture. Because we allow that mobilized energy to flow, if we don't interrupt it, it naturally leads to action. Speaking your truth, moving away from something harmful, drawing the boundary, asking for what you need, completing the task, crying, whatever the authentic response is. The mobilized energy discharges through that genuine movement or expression.
Okay. Contact, awareness, mobilization, action. What's next?
When the action is appropriate and completes the need, you reach satisfaction or completion. The energy has moved through the system successfully, the experience has been lived, the tension resolved, the need met, the cycle closes.
Ah, like finishing a meal when you were hungry.
Exactly. Or having the difficult conversation and feeling a sense of clarity afterwards. And then comes the final essential stage, rest or peace, integration. The unfinished business is finished. The system can relax, restore itself, integrate the experience, ready for the next cycle to begin.
That sounds really healthy and alive.
It is. It's the natural flow. But the tragedy of the interrupted life, as we've been discussing, is that right at that crucial point, mobilization, when the energy is rising, tingling, getting ready.
We slam on the brakes.
We interrupt it. We freeze. We flee, mentally or physically. We appease, saying yes when we mean no. We swallow the truth, literally push the rising energy back down, often tensing muscles against it. We stop the flow.
And like you said before, that blocked, interrupted energy, it's still charged. It doesn't just evaporate.
No, it gets trapped, stuck inside the system.
And it festers.
It lingers, it haunts us. And interestingly, it often manifests not as the original clean feeling like, say, clear, justifiable anger at an injustice, but as these murky, confusing symptoms of energetic blockage. It shows up as that free-floating anxiety when you're trying to sleep, or intense irritability over tiny things, unexplained bone-deep exhaustion, or sudden overwhelming waves of grief or rage that seem to come out of nowhere, maybe in totally unrelated situations.
Wow.
This is why the framework says something really direct, almost provocative. That's not mental illness. That's interrupted life.
That is a profound distinction. It's huge. It shifts the whole focus, doesn't it? Away from thinking, there's something fundamentally wrong with my brain chemistry that needs fixing from the outside.
Right.
Towards seeing it as an energetic problem, a life force, a natural response that has been consistently blocked, dammed up, prevented from moving naturally through its cycle.
Exactly. We're looking at stagnation. Not pathology, necessarily, but stagnation. Sometimes the labels we use, anxiety, depression, can inadvertently become another form of intellectualizing. They let us ask, why am I broken?
Instead of
perhaps, what truth did I freeze? What action did I prevent myself from taking? And what is my body doing right now to hold on to that blocked, mobilized energy?
Yeah.
The energy is simply trapped because we didn't allow the natural completion.
And the cumulative effect of doing this over and over, the quiet tragedy, is what we teach ourselves with every single interruption.
Yes. We teach ourselves self-betrayal over and over. The lessons become ingrained. My real feelings are dangerous. My needs are too much a burden. My authentic voice doesn't matter, or it causes too much trouble.
And this leads, slowly but surely, to just disappearing.
It leads to becoming, in a way, the ghost of your own life. You might be meticulously performing all the roles society expects: the cheerful colleague, the capable parent, the ever-supportive friend, the smiling host.
But inside,
the essential you, the part that feels and wants and knows, is absent, is gone quiet. You're the person staying in the soul-crushing job because it's stable.
Yeah.
You're the one nodding and smiling through the painful family dinner, saying yes when your entire spirit is screaming no.
You become absent from your own existence.
Slightly betraying yourself every single day, just to maintain the illusion of safety or peace.
Okay, so if this interrupted energy is trapped inside, it doesn't just make us feel stuck or anxious. It often spills out, right, onto other people. We often see our own deepest, most uncomfortable feelings, the ones we refuse to own, reflected back at us in how we see others. Let's talk about that shield. Projection.
Projection is a really fascinating and very common high-level defense mechanism. It works like this. Because a certain feeling, maybe deep vulnerability or fierce anger, or even a strong ambition or need, feels too dangerous, too shameful, or just too threatening to acknowledge inside ourselves.
They push it out.
The psyche, quite cleverly in a way, puts it outside, onto someone else. So maybe we feel this underlying corrosive sense of powerlessness, but we look at our boss or our partner and call them controlling.
Or we feel envy, but we label them as materialistic or showing off.
Exactly. Or we're carrying years of suppressed rage from always complying, always saying yes, but we perceive other people as being so angry all the time.
And the connection. It's almost simple when you put it like that. The thing you judge most harshly, most loudly in someone else
is very often the part of yourself you have disowned or refused to look at. Your own shadow material, we could say.
The boundary I refuse to set for myself. I end up resenting other people for crossing boundaries with me.
Precisely. Or the emotional vulnerability I deny in myself, I might mock or feel contempt for when I see it expressed by a friend.
So we're constantly battling the external world.
Because we're fundamentally in conflict with our own unlived, unacknowledged internal life. So reclaiming ourselves, coming back home, has to involve this massive shift away from constant external judgment and blame
And towards.
towards radical self-awareness, towards looking at what in me gets triggered by that person's behavior. What
Right.
part of my disowned self is being reflected back to me?
This leads to another important distinction you mentioned, moving from responsibility in the sense of guilt or blame towards responsibility. Can you unpack that difference? It feels important.
It is. The traditional idea of responsibility often carries this heavy weight of duty, obligation, and sometimes blame for past actions. I am responsible for fixing this mess, or I am responsible for how they feel. It implies this crushing burden.
Yeah, it can feel that way.
Responsibility, though, is simpler and more immediate. It just means the ability to respond. Your capacity to respond authentically, fully, and presently to whatever is alive in you and in the situation right now.
So it's less about fixing the past and more about...
It's about authentic presence in this moment, not historical guilt. It asks the question, what is actually needed of me for my whole self in this single, unique, unfolding moment? What is the most alive and authentic response available to me right now?
Okay, so it's not about endlessly analyzing why I feel this old rage from childhood.
Although understanding context can be helpful.
Right, but the focus shifts to responding to the physical reality of the rage that's actually here in my body. Now, without immediately shutting it down or analyzing it away,
Exactly.
that sounds like a major turning point, but also still really risky. What actually happens when we make that choice? To stop running, stop interrupting, and just stay with the feeling.
It requires, as the framework suggests, consciously entering the unknown and fundamentally letting go of the illusion of control.
Because our survival brain is screaming.
Screaming, danger! If you feel this fully, you will explode. You will disintegrate. You will be overwhelmed.
But the path of turning towards it says,
It says, I will stay present while I feel this. I will trust that this energy, this feeling, if I allow it to move without judgment or interruption, will find its natural course, its completion. It's trusting the organism's wisdom.
so the primary action isn't necessarily quitting the job or ending the relationship tomorrow.
It might lead there eventually, or it might not.
But the initial crucial action is the internal allowing.
Yes, that's the revolutionary act. The action is allowing. It means letting the feeling actually rise, letting yourself tremble if you're afraid, letting tears come if sadness is there, feeling the heat of frustration or anger move through your body.
Without immediately trying to fix it, judge it as bad, or find some spiritual or philosophical reason to bypass it.
Exactly. It's the radical courage just to stay present with the difficult, sometimes chaotic internal landscape, to witness it without interfering.
And the payoff. What happens when we manage to do that, when we stop interrupting?
Well, the cycle we talked about finally gets to move towards completion. That energy that was trapped, maybe manifesting as anxiety or tension, it starts to move. It might discharge through tears or a deep sigh or even just the subtle internal shift.
The truth might speak itself.
Often, yes. Sometimes the words just come out, almost without conscious effort, because the block is removed. The body often relaxes naturally as the held tension releases. The mind tends to quiet down because it's not busy fighting the feeling anymore.
And the relief. It's not because you suddenly found the perfect external solution.
Not necessarily. The profound relief comes because you stopped fighting yourself. You stopped silencing and abandoning the part of you that was trying to speak. You came home. You returned to the present moment, to your actual experience.
Okay, so this brings us to the idea that this isn't about one big aha moment, is it?
Rarely. I mean, insights can happen, certainly. But the real transformation, the deep shift, it's usually not a grand, single gesture. Not the breakthrough weekend workshop that fixes everything, or the sudden dramatic life overhaul.
It's more like a practice.
It's absolutely a practice.
Yeah.
A moment-to-moment practice. It's built on countless micro-choices, repeated fiercely, tenderly, day after day, hour after hour.
It sounds like the continuous, sometimes exhausting practice of just noticing the moment we start to betray ourselves, the moment we check out, and choosing differently, even slightly differently.
Yes. It involves those small, daily choices. Noticing the split-second impulse to grab your phone when discomfort arises. Naming it internally, okay, there's that urge to numb. Maybe naming the projection, wow, I'm really dumping my frustration onto this innocent person right now.
Taking a conscious breath when the panic rises and the impulse is to shut down or lash out.
Staying present, feeling your feet on the ground, when every fiber of your being wants to run, hide, or disappear.
So in each choice, we're choosing the raw, real, sometimes shaky but alive version of ourselves.
over the polished, pleasing, acceptable, performative version that feels safer but is ultimately deadening.
That's the gentle, fierce turning you mentioned. It's quiet, but it shifts everything.
It really does. It might be as simple as placing a hand on your chest when you feel that familiar anxiety or dread and just whispering internally, okay, I'm here. I feel you. I'm not going to abandon you again. Not this time. Not even for comfort.
But to do that consistently, we really have to confront the elegant lies we tell ourselves, don't we? The ways we use language itself to smooth over the reality of our avoidance.
Yes. We have to get brutally honest about how we confuse our avoidance strategies with actual virtues. This is critical.
We have to stop calling our frozen fear patience.
Right. True patience is an active, grounded waiting. Fear is paralysis. They feel very different in the body.
Stop calling numbness peace or calm.
Numbness is the absence of feeling. It's energetic denial. True peace is alive and present. It includes everything.
Stop calling relentless people-pleasing kindness or selflessness.
It's often rooted in a deep fear of conflict or disapproval. It's avoidance of saying the difficult no. True kindness includes boundaries.
And maybe the hardest one. Stop calling self-abandonment responsibility to others.
Oof, yes. That's a big one. Prioritizing everyone else's perceived needs or comfort over your own core truth isn't noble responsibility. It's abandoning the responsibility you have to your own life, your own soul.
You're not being noble when you betray your own truth. You're just being absent from your own life.
And that is the deepest tragedy. Becoming that ghost who goes through all the motions perfectly, executes all the expected roles, while the essential self, the vibrant feeling core, just withers away inside that prison of politeness and avoidance.
So this commitment to presence, to showing up for ourselves, to being fully alive, it comes at a cost. It's not promising an easy, pain-free life.
Definitely not. That's a fantasy. So what does this kind of deep aliveness, this commitment to presence, actually cost us? What do we have to be willing to give up?
Well, based on what we've discussed, it costs the illusion of being in control all the time.
Absolutely. That need to manage everything.
It costs the temporary, familiar comfort of numbness. That feeling of being checked out might feel safe, even if it's slowly suffocating us.
The known, even if painful.
It almost certainly costs the approval of people who preferred the smaller, quieter, more predictable version of you. Because living your truth is inherently disruptive sometimes.
Yes. Not everyone will celebrate your aliveness.
And it costs the safety of the known path, even if that path was making you miserable. Stepping into the truth means stepping into uncertainty.
Big costs. But what's the gain? What do you get back in return for risking all that?
It's not a life free from pain, like you said. That's not the promise. The game is yourself, your actual self, fully present, grounded in your own experience, and fully responsible, able to meet life as it comes.
Awareness then isn't the final destination. It's not like, okay, I'm aware, job done.
No, it's the doorway. It's the prerequisite. And once you consistently choose to step through that doorway to stay present,
then you start to build the capacity to respond authentically, to trust the raw data of your sensations, your emotions, your boundaries, without immediately shutting down or performing again.
you're finally able to stand in your own life and say, maybe quietly, maybe shaking a little, but clearly, I choose me, I choose this truth.
So the synthesis here, the takeaway, feels quite clear and maybe even simplifying. The answer you've been searching for, the one you've been ignoring. It was never going to be a perfect 5-step plan or finding the right external circumstance or getting saved by someone else.
No, it was always closer.
It was always fundamentally about a relationship, an ongoing moment-to-moment relationship with your own messy, chaotic, truthful, beautiful internal world.
A relationship with your sensations, your feelings, your boundaries, breath by breath.
Exactly.
So you don't need to figure out the grand finale today. You don't need to quit the job tomorrow or instantly heal the generational wound by lunchtime.
No. The pressure comes off a bit there.
What your deepest self, your soul, maybe is really begging for is just for you to stop ignoring it. Stop betraying your own knowing, moment by moment.
The goal is simpler and yet harder. Just choose to be here. Choose to be alive in this trembling, maybe terrifying, but also magnificent present moment. Now.
Because the real work, the deep unfolding, it doesn't actually happen in those big, dramatic breakthrough moments we crave.
Where does it happen?
It happens in the quiet, ordinary moments. When you feel the familiar fear rise up, when you recognize that old impulse to flee or numb or appease, and you just choose to stay. Even for one more breath. You choose presence anyway.
That's the revolution.
So, the wisdom we've been exploring today leaves us with a really potent, maybe uncomfortable, but necessary question. Now that you've heard this, now that you might recognize the shape of your own avoidance, now that maybe some energy has been mobilized just by listening,
What now?
the question is, do you go back to sleep or do you dare to stay? It's the ultimate invitation, isn't it? An invitation back to presence, the answer, the aliveness, the real you. It was always inside. The only question left is, will you listen? Welcome home.